Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be sharing with you on how to make a shoulder dart pattern. Now as you can see, I just took a marginal line at the top of my pattern and I will take my shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 7.5, and I added ½ inch to that. Now come down by 1 inch for your shoulder slant. Now take 3 inches from the edge of your pattern. This is standard for connecting your shoulder slant. Now from those 1 inches you took downwards, you're going to take your armhole depth. Mine is 8.5, and on that line, that would be my bust line. Now connect your line. Next thing I am doing now is taking my shoulder to bust point, which is 11.5, and I'll take my under bust point, which is 14.5. Now I am taking my waist, which is 17, and the length I want for my blouse, which is 25, and my hemming allowance, which is 2 inches after my blouse length. Now I would extend all my lines. Now take your nipple to nipple measurement from the folded edge of your pattern. My nipple to nipple measurement is 8 inches divided by 2 is 4 inches, and now I am taking it from my bust point all the way down to the hemline, and I would connect my line. Now I would go ahead and label my pattern. This is my bust line, this is my bust point, this is my under bust, this is my waist and my length. Now from your bust point, you're going to go upwards by 1 inch, and you're also going to come downwards by 1 inch. I say this a lot. This is to avoid friction around your bust area after joining your fabrics together. On my under bust, I will add 1 inch for my dart. On my waist, I would also add 1 inch on each side, as you can see. Now next thing I will do is go upwards from my length by 2 inches. Now I would connect my dart lines. Now come up to your shoulder slope, and you're going to put your tape rule like this, and you're going to find the midpoints. Now once you've found the midpoint of your shoulder slope, you're going to connect your line to that 1 inch you came upwards from your bust point like this. Now you're going to add ½ inch dart on each side, just like I have done. And next thing you will do is to connect your line. Now from your bust line, go upwards by 2.5 inches. Now we're going to find the midpoint of our armhole depth. Now from the midpoint, go inwards by ½ inch or 2 centimeters. Now take the circumference of your bust divided by 4. Now whatever you have here, put it back on your bust line. Now I'll be taking 1.5 inches for my seam allowance. Now I would connect my armhole curve. Now whatever that you have here, you're going to put it back on the other side. Now here is how you do it. Now note this is my midpoint. Now you will put it like this. From here, place that dart here. Now come up to your shoulder. Whatever that you have here, which is 1 inch, you're going to add it back to your shoulder like this. Now once you've done that, you're going to connect your new armhole line. Now I'll just go on and cross this out because this will be our new armhole. Now come down to your underbust and take your underbust circumference. Now you're going to be adding 2 inches for your dart and add 1.5 inches for seam allowance. Now I am going to be taking same line out on my waist because my waist and my underbust is the same. Now take your hip circumference divided by 4 and 1.5 inches for seam allowance. And now I am just going to go on and connect my lines. Now from this point you can take 5 inches inwards and come down by 1 inches. Now this is optional if you want your blouse to have a little curve at the bottom. Now I'll just be taking 5 inches for the width of my neckline, and I will be taking 7 inches for the length. Now you can use any neckline of your choice, and I am just trying to go for a V-shaped neckline. Now I will go ahead and cut this pattern out. Also, you can cut at the waist if you want to add peplum to it. If you don't want to make a full blouse, just cut around your waist and add your peplum. Now I'll be sharing with you guys another way on how to make your front pattern. Now you can see I've gone on and placed all the necessary measurements I need. My armhole, my bust line, my bust point, my under bust line, my waist and my length. Now I will dive into the measurements. Now from the folded edge of your pattern, start taking your nipple to nipple measurements. Mine is 8 inches divided by 2 is 4 inches, and that is what I took there, and I would connect my line. Now on your bust point, go upwards by 1 inch and come downwards by 1 inch. Now on your under bust, take 1/2 You can also do 1 inch. Now come down to your waist, take 1/2 inch on both sides. Now take 2 inches upwards from your length, your blouse length, and now connect your lines. Now come up to your shoulder and find the midpoint. Now connect your line to your 1 inches upwards from your bust point. Now on your under bust, you take no measurements there. You come down to your waist, take your waist circumference. Now whatever that you have there, place it back. Now because of this dart and because we take no measurements on our under bust, you're going to take about 3 inches for seam on your waist or 2 inches. But I will just go ahead and do 1.5 inches. Now go down to your hip, your blouse length, and take your hip circumference divided by 4 and 1.5 for seam allowance and connect your lines. Now I'll be taking my neckline measurements. I will take 5 inches for the width of my neckline, and I would also take 7 inches for the length. Now bear in mind that you can use any neckline of your choice. Now I am taking same 5 inches for the width of my neckline down there so as to have an equal measurement. Now I'll just go on and connect my line, and also don't forget your neckline curve. And now I'll just go on and cut out this pattern. Now for the back pattern, to start your pattern, start taking your zipper seam allowance. Now I'll be taking 1.5 inches for my zipper seam allowance, and I will take that all the way down to the length, and I will connect my line. Now from the zip line, take your shoulder to shoulder measurements divided by 2. Mine is 7.5. Now I would add ½ inch to that because I'll be joining to my sleeve. Now come down by 1 inch. Now take 3 inches from the zip line and connect your line. Now from here, take your armhole depth. Mine is 8.5. Now connect your bust line. Now take your shoulder to waist. Mine is 17. Now take your shoulder to blouse length and add 2 inches for hemming allowance or whatever hemming allowance you want to add. Now I will just draw out all my lines. Now start taking your nipple to nipple measurements divided by 2. Mine is 8 inches divided by 2 is 4 inches. And now I would connect my line. Now I am just going to add ½ inch on both sides on my waist. Now I am going to take 6 inches from my waist downwards for my dart length. Now also take 6 inches from your waist upwards for your dart length. Now find the midpoint of your shoulder slope and connect your line. Now I will just go on and connect my dart lines. Now come down to your bust and take your bust circumference divided by 4 and add 1.5 inch for seam allowance, and come down to your waistline, take your waist circumference divided by 4, add 1 inch for that and 1.5 inch for seam allowance. Now come down to your hip, take your hip circumference divided by 4 and add 1.5 inch for seam allowance. And now find the midpoint of your armhole. Now next thing you will do is to connect your bust line like this all the way down to the armhole line. Now connect the other lines. Now we'll just go on and take our neckline measurement. I will be using 5 inches for the width of the neckline, just like we used for the front. The width of your front and your back neckline should always be the same, but the length can always differ. Now I am using 3 inches for length. Now I will just connect my line and also connect the curve. And of course, it's time to cut your pattern out. Now you can go in and add the bottom curve. Take 5 inch inwards and come down by 1 inch and connect your curve and keep cutting out. Now if you don't want a 6 pieces kind of look, you can go on and cut out your pattern like this. That means you won't need to add this line. Now if you want a 6 pattern look, just cut out this line and your dart line. Now when cutting on your fabric, you will need to cut 2 pieces of each of this. Now I will be showing you how to cut on your fabric and also place your interfacing. Now this is my front pattern and I joined the sides together, and this side, the 2 sides are the same. So I'll be cutting 2 of the side, and for the front I will fold the center front like this. And I will match the folded edge of my pattern to the folded edge of my fabric. Like this. Now I will just go ahead and cut out and making sure I leave ½ inch on the dart sides. so as to join to the side of my other front. Now it's time to cut the side. Now as you can see, I have two fabrics. Now I will place my side on my fabric and I would cut and also leave ½ inch on the that sides so as to join it to the center front. Now here is my back. Remember I said we'll be cutting two of this and two of the other one. Now place it on your fabric and we will cut and also leave ½ inch on the dart sides. Now I will go on and cut my center back and also remember to leave ½ inch on the dart side. Leave no seam on the zip because you already have seam allowance there. Now here is how you cut your interfacing on your fabric. Place your center front like this and raise the waist part and cut all the way around it. Now here is how you place the sides to cut out your interfacing. As you can see, I've done the other one. Now place this one like this and cut all around it. Now you will just go on and iron your interfacing on your fabric, and once you've done that, join the sides together, the side to the center front, and join by ½ inch, and do the same for the other side, join by ½ inch. Now for the back, do very much the same, join the sides together and join the other side together as well. Now when you're done, you should have your test look like this.